It's
Anything cool from the bank?
a few minutes past 5, so go ahead and call this regular scheduled meeting of Santa Clara City Council to order. Thank everybody for being here today. I'm Mayor Rick Rosenberg. We have present a full council tonight. Councilman Wenda Gubler, Councilman Denny Drake, Councilman Jarrett Waite, Councilwoman Lena Mathis, and Councilman Ben Shakespeare. Thanks everybody for being here. I'd like to begin the meeting with an opening ceremony and pledge of allegiance. We've asked Councilwoman Mathis to lead us in that. Would everyone please rise and salute the flag?
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be gathered here this evening, and we are grateful for the opportunity we have to serve the citizens of our city. We are grateful for the area in which we live and the beauty that we have here. We ask that Thou might watch over us and assist us, and please bring some rain so that we can avoid this drought. We ask that Thy Spirit might be with us, that we can do the things that would be pleasing unto Thee, and that we can do the things that would benefit those who live within our city. And we are grateful for the blessings we receive from Thy hand, and this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Lena. Communications and appearances. Do we have any communications or appearances from anyone not related to any of the items on the agenda tonight? I don't have any. Brock, Chief. Okay. Go into conflicts and disclosures. Council, is there anything on the agenda tonight that would present a conflict of interest for anybody that we need to disclose? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the working agenda. We do have a public hearing scheduled tonight. This is a public hearing to receive public input regarding a budget amendment to the fiscal year 2020-2021 operating and capital budget. Rob?
Yeah, I'll be handling that. So yes, we're here for our annual budget amendment. We do this time of year for this current fiscal year 2020-2021. So we'll be amending the general fund. We'll be amending our special revenue fund and also each of our enterprise funds. So first, the general fund, we'll be amending that in the amount of $928,000. So let me pop that up there. It goes by each one of our departments, has a little bit different amendment based on the expenditures that where we need to make sure that we are compliant with state code, that our expenditures don't exceed our budgeted expenditures. So up here first is our revenue, where we're going to be accounting for the increase in expenditures with our sales tax. Most of our taxes, sales tax, highway tax, RAP tax, and our transient room tax, all being amended there for the amount shown, as well billing permit fees, our ambulance service charges, and then our ball field tournaments and fines and forfeitures through our court. That total there's $928,000. So we'll be amending the expenditures in that same amount of $928,000. And those are our justice court will be amending by $10,000 in legal services. The administration department is amended in an amount of $122,000 with subscriptions, memberships, the solid waste contract, county legal services, and then equipment. We have the police and accounting for our contract with Ivans, the amount of $150,000. Building department, it'll be $70,000, split between legal services and professional services. The fire department, $120,000 with overtime, repairs and maintenance, and then for our wildland expenditures on our wildland fire crew. The EMS, $205,000. This is operating supplies, equipment repairs and maintenance and professional services. And that professional services, that payment there is our payment to Ivans on their side of the revenue comes out of there. That's why that number jumped up on the new accounting that Debbie kind of talked about on our previous. That's the way it's being accounted for, is through that expenditure as we cut them a check on share of the revenue. So we're amending that to account for that increase there. Public Works for our slurry seal, and then improvements. 60,000. Parks, 145,000. Account for operating supplies, improvements in capital equipment. And then sports field, we have 46,000 for repairs and maintenance, tournament expenses, building maintenance, and capital equipment, which totals to 928,000. Which will bring the current year's budget up to just over 7 million, $7,010,037. So we also be amending our special revenue fund for our CARES Act that we received from the CARES Act, which was $688,425. So we're amending that to account for that revenue and expenditures. We were spent all $688,425. So we're amending to account for that. And then we have our enterprise funds, starting with the water fund. We have, the current budget was about 2.6 million. We're going to amend this. Oh, I don't have my difference here. Somebody's good with their calculator, but we're amending this to account for mainly, the main portion is account for depreciation, which will be for all of our enterprise funds. A big portion is accounting for depreciation. So we're accounting this, it's about a $600,000 budget amendment. Account for some wages, costs on the Snow Canyon line, major costs, increased in water line expenses, water meters, and then depreciation. Depreciation accounts for 475,000 of that, roughly 600,000. So the sewer fund is 165,000 for equipment, payments to St. George on the treatment, and then depreciation of 100,000, which will take that budget from 777,000 to 942,000. The power budget, probably what you are seeing presented. We need to make a slight adjustment to that one. Slight increase based on I missed the refunding and issuance of new debt. I missed in taking account for paying off the debt and the new debt issuance. So that number there of 7.3 is actually going to be just over 11 million for that debt issuance. We had to pay off the debt, and the new debt issuance was 3.5 million. So that we're going to increase that up to be $11,063,830. So, but we're amending that. As you can see, new subdivision expenses and power purchase and depreciation are our big ones. Amending there. Our new subdivision, as I think we've talked a little bit about, we don't budget a number not knowing what the subdivisions are going to be, what they're going to come in. So we don't have that. Everybody, as you can see, the new subdivision supplies and expenditures matches in the revenue to the service and materials. That's the line item that accounts for the material, the revenue that the contractors are paying for those supplies. So we cover our costs, plus it's the wages of Gary's crew to putting in the power. So it covers our expenditures in getting the supplies. As you can see, our power purchase, we're amending that at 650,000. We're currently to date actually about $400,000 over budget, but as the cost of power has gone up, we're amending to account for that, and our power ownership costs and with UAMPs, and then the depreciation. So we're going to amend total. That number is going to go, like I said, it says 7,389,000. We're going to go to 11,063,830. So, but as I say, that roughly 3.5, 3.6 million is accounting for the refunding and issuance of the new debt for the generator and refunding the other two electric bonds. So I apologize for that. Stormwater, there we're amending about 120,000, mainly for professional services, some improvements and depreciation. So we'll take that budget from 518,000 to 738,000. And that is the budget amendment that we have this year for fiscal year 2020, 2021. Any questions?
I have one on the charges for services, clear on the very first of the document, where we have 160,000 for ambulance charges. Is that related to our new billing method, or why is that more? It's a good thing. I'm just curious how that occurred.
So part of it is, yes, we are collecting better. Previously, also in our accounting, if I recall right, we were paying when we got those charges, we were paying out of that account. That's where that account was being. So if Ivan's, we owed them 30,000, we were paying it directly out of that account, whereas now they're paying it out of the expenditure account, which is why this one is higher and that expenditure one is also higher. So, but it is above what we budgeted to start with. So
Good.
Any other questions for Brock, council? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I would go ahead and open the public hearing. Ask anyone who has come to speak to the council on this issue, come to the podium and state your name and your address. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And council, I would ask you to jump down to item D1 in your agenda. Consider approval of a budget amendment for fiscal year 2020, 2021 and approve ordinance 2021-08 as it's been presented by Brock. If anybody's ready to make a motion on that issue or any discussion.
I would move to approve the budget amendment for FY 2020, 2021 and approve ordinance 2021-08 as presented by Brock.
Second.
Got a motion by Denny and a second by Wendell to approve the budget amendment for fiscal year 2021 and approve ordinance 2021-08 as presented. Any question on that motion, council?
Do we need to include the amended number on the power?
I think it was presented with that number amended, so I think you're probably good.
Okay.
Any other questions? This is a money item roll call. Wendell?
Aye.
Danny?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Going back to item 5A2, this is a public hearing to receive public input regarding a water rate increase. Brock or
Yeah.
Dustin, who's got it?
This is a water rate increase of 10 cents per 1,000 gallons, mainly to cover the cost that's been imposed from Washington County Water Conservancy District for the same 10 cents per 1,000. This money will be used to cover that cost and then aged infrastructure, water line repairs, possibly new employees. We're keeping the base rate the same, $32. And the tiered system, you can see on your screen, starting at 70 cents per 1,000 and on up. Any questions?
Any questions for Dustin? This is primarily just a pass through, passing that additional cost from the water district on into the rates. Thank you, Dustin. This is a public hearing, so we would ask again if anyone has come to address this proposed water rate increase, give them the opportunity to come to the podium and address the council. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And council, with your permission, move down to item D2. Nope, item D3. and ask if, and consider approval of a water rate increase and approve resolution 2021-09R. Is there any questions or additional discussion relative to the proposed water rate increase and resolution?
All I would add is in your motion, add an effective date.
And the effective date is?
I think July 1.
July 1.
Is that correct, Dustin? July 1?
Okay, council, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion that we approve water rate increase and approve resolution 2021-09R with an effective date of July 1, 2021.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Ben and a second by Jarrett to approve the water rate increase and approve resolution 2021-09R, effective July 1, 2021. Any question on that motion? Again, water, or just the money item, roll call vote. Ben?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Danny?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
Passes unanimous. Thank you, council. Go back to the working agenda. Item 5A, or excuse me, 5B is the consent agenda. You have on the consent agenda approval of the claims and minutes for the meeting on June 9th and the claims through June 9th. Also the calendar of events, upcoming calendar of events. Is there any question on the consent agenda? Any question on the claims or the minutes? And I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by
Second.
Lena and a second by Ben to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any question on that motion? Again, money item, Ben,
Aye.
Lena,
Aye.
Jarrett,
Aye.
Benny,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Going into general business, item D2. This is approved resolution 2021-08R, appointing election judges and the alternatives or alternates. Chris?
So when we have elections, every year we appoint election judges, and we have to do it through city council. I'll read off who we have. For our poll manager, it's Lisa Sandberg, and she has done it previously for us. She did it last year, the last election. We have Kristen Walton that lives here in Santa Clara. Amber Hughes, she doesn't live here, I don't believe. Michael Key, Scott Beasley, and Dory Beaumont is our alternate. I get a list from the county of poll workers that have volunteered before, and these were taken off of that list. And so I'm just asking that we approve those tonight so they will be done correctly, and then we'll have those poll workers set for the general election since we're not having a primary.
Okay. Resolution spells out their compensation for the work. Any question on the resolution, council? There's no questions. I'd look for a motion.
I'll make that motion. I move that we approve resolution 2021-08R, appointing election judges and their alternatives as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Jarrett and a second by Lena to approve resolution 2021-08R, appointing election judges and their alternates. Any question on that motion, council? This is again a money item. Roll call. Wendell?
Aye.
Danny?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Item D4, consider approving an amendment to the Parks and Trails Impact Fee Facilities Plan and Impact Fee Analysis. Brad?
Good evening. This amendment is for the Parks and Trails impact fee. What we're doing with this impact fee amendment is adding Tobler Park, the down on Chapel Street, 1375 Chapel Street. Is the drawing on there, Brock, for what we were planning to do? Right. Might be in, I think we added it later. Anyway, what this does, when we did the impact fee analysis, I sat down with Sunrise Engineering, and what we did is try to determine, and I don't know what council wants to do with that specifically, but I put in some amenities in there that I think we might need. So one of the amenities I put in with the realignment of the road on Chapel Street, we're going to take out the house on the corner and realign the road on the top there. There. And the blue line around is a perimeter fence. So what we've got is a semi-decorative fence. So, you know, with a 3-foot wrought iron or 3-foot cinder block with a wrought iron on top. So you can see through into it, but it'll keep people out, you know, during night times hours. The workers have told me that there's problems with people getting in there after dark and things like that, and kind of taking what they want of the vegetables and fruit. So that part of that's a perimeter fence. Then down along the river there by the bridge, we've got a parking area there, a small parking area added into there, just to get the people off the street. And also we have a building there. The building that's over there on Chapel Street is going to be removed as part of that road alignment. So we won't have any place to store it. But I also added a building that has some other features in it. Right now, they wash vegetables there. They do work there. So what we were going to do or thinking of doing is adding a couple of restrooms there to service the Graff Park and the trailhead across the street. Maybe add a classroom or an open area with a kitchen in it so they can process vegetables and things like that. And also maybe conduct some classes like some of the more of the old school type things like dyeing eggs and stuff like that, like they used to do in Santa Clara, you know, where they'd wrap them in leaves and stuff like that, do some plant propagation classes and stuff. At least it would be open for that. And then some storage area for the tools and stuff that are required for the garden. So this isn't set in stone. This is just a number that, you know, things that we added in there. So when we do bring a design back to the council, that those designs and those items are impact fee eligible. So they're based off of construction. I did some calculations on this. The improvements actually add $269 per house impact fee if you know the council wanted to do that, and it brings our impact fee ERU to 4526. Council can adjust that up and down. I'm not asking at this point for a rate increase. I just want you to be aware that's what the current ERU is. Or currently what we charge per house per ERU for Santa Clara is $2,906. I would recommend at some future point that council looks at what we're charging for our impact fee based on increases in construction materials and construction labor. I've looked at some of the other city impact fees, and we're by far the lowest parks impact fee currently. Ivans is $34.94, and they're currently looking at their impact fees and doing their capital facility plan. Washington, and this is for a single family home, is $4,800, and St. George is just a little bit under that, $4,780 or $90, I believe. But anyway, I just wanted you to be aware of that I would be bringing that back. But basically what this does allows us to build things at Tobler Park and do the improvements. The building and, you know, we'll stay there until we do the road alignment. But, you know, when council decides they'd like to do some improvements on this property, then the impact fees, it will be impact fee eligible.
Brad, did the new costs that you have in there include the curb and gutter on Chapel Street across the frontage?
I did not include that. I figured that would be a road expense, so I didn't include it. If I needed to, I would, but.
Dustin gets to buy that one. You're okay with that? I mean, I don't know, council, what are your thoughts? You will have some cost. If we want to bring that street up to standard, there would be some additional costs with the curb and gutter and sidewalk down the front. Right now, there's nothing. Just the pavement across the front of the church. We will be coming back to council when the time comes and the Hafen home is vacated, that we'd probably be straightening that out. And so there will be some roadway expenses relative to the transportation. You could wait and do the curb and gutter that, or we could, and probably wouldn't do any of these improvements until that time anyway, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, it's up to council, whatever council wants to do.
I mean, it'd be nice to have the sidewalk and the curb in there before you did the wall. I can't remember if the road section, if the sidewalk goes right up against the wall down there or not, or you may have to set the wall back a little bit to allow some space.
I know between the curb where the road will be and the garden, there's
quite
about
a
a
slope.
6-foot, elevation between the, closer to the home, and then it gradually goes down to nothing down by the bridge.
You remember where the property line was?
Yes. Goes right through the middle of that building.
But does it, how far behind? Would you have to move your fence back, or is,
That fence that I drew on there is pretty much the property line.
okay, so to facilitate the street improvements, you'd probably have to move the fence back to allow for the slope, right?
Right. Yeah, this is just a drawing to show the perimeter fence.
So you could probably build the fence separate from the street. You just wouldn't have the sidewalk would be my big issue right there, because people want to walk down to that part until that street's done. There's no sidewalk. Council, do you want to include street improvements in the available impact fees, or just the park improvements and the streets will get paid for out of street budget?
I don't think it hurts us to include it. Initially looking at it, I was reluctant thinking on the restrooms with everything we've had issues with restrooms, but then you think this restroom would service with the mountain bikers coming through. Eventually you've got that walking path would continue all the way down. So it actually probably a good location for a central public restroom there and on that, but obviously cameras, and it would be great to have cameras there anyway with the bridge and
Right.
kind of get some visibility of that anyway. So
Yeah,
I think we include it in there. I don't think it means we've got to take it out of there, but at least we have that ability when the time comes.
okay.
If we include it in this impact fee analysis and we don't include it in streets, then we're restricted to using it out of this analysis, correct?
If you're gonna try and pay for the costs out of impact fees, it needs to be in one or the other, and I don't know that it would qualify for streets. So you'd either put it in the parks impact fee analysis as part of the project, or just pay for it out of the general fund later.
Okay.
Because I don't think Chapel Street is on your CFP, is it? Yeah,
Okay. Then my vote would be to include it.
to include it on this.
Mhm.
Everybody okay with including it on this? It'll raise that, what would you say, 269? It'll raise that up a little bit, but we're not going to implement it now anyway, correct, Brad?
Correct.
So we could probably make a motion to approve it conditioned upon including the cost of the Chapel Street frontage improvements inside the project.
Just the curb or the asphalt?
I would do the everything associated with the frontage of the park. So the plant strip of the asphalt, not necessarily the Hafen home rework up there, but across the frontage of the park, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and the park strip.
Okay.
And then if you had landscaping on the outside, you're going to want to do something on that slope.
Mhm.
The slope treatment, I'd include that in there too.
All right.
And also don't forget your Benelli Trail improvements.
So I'd just be responsible for that along
your
the
frontage.
frontage,
Yep.
right?
It's your
Okay.
frontage. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
And we still have options on how we want to pay for it when the time comes, but it would be impact fee eligible.
Always sell apricots.
They're pretty good apricots.
They're delicious. I've been eating them for a month. That's why I'm worried with the fence. It's not going to be locked, is it?
Okay, any questions for Brad? Okay, council, anybody, if there's no questions, any additional discussion?
Do you want me to bring this back after we make those changes or just continue?
I think as everybody understands it, and we're not implementing the dollars, when you come back and implement the dollars, make sure you've got it updated
Right.
and just modify the impact fee analysis for now.
Okay.
So it includes it. If the council's okay with that.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other questions? If not, I'd look for a motion, council.
I'll make that motion that we approve the amendment to the Park and Trail Impact Fee Facility Plan and Impact Fee Analysis as presented. As part of that motion, we will include that it will include the curb, gutter, and sidewalk as part of that.
And the street improvements for Chapel's, uncompleted street improvements on Chapel and Benelli Trail associated with the park.
That's correct.
Okay, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Ben and a second by Lena to approve the amendment to the Parks and Trails Impact Fee Facilities Plan and Impact Fee Analysis, including the additional street, sidewalk, and curb and gutter improvements on Chapel Street and Manili Trail required for the park. Any question on that motion? This is a money item again. Roll call vote. Ben?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Danny?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-0. Motion passes. Thank you, Brad. Consider approving the BMX Track Footprint presented by Brad Hayes.
Okay, the BMX track operator, Brooke Seeley, has approached city staff asking to fence in an area down below the substation. It's approximately 150 feet by 40 feet. Do you have the picture of that, Brock? Doesn't quite fit, but if you could bring up the substation and that part of it. So the area just east of the substation, you can see the track. To the right of the track, there's an outcrop area. That's the area they would like to fence in. The reason they want to fence it in is because during current BMX events, they use the Canyon View Park and the ball fields to put their pavilions, and they have to take everything home at night. And so what they would like is an area for sponsors and things to be able to lock up their stuff at night, and then also keep them off the park, and then they don't have to worry about water coming on and those sort of things. Also, Brooke says they need it if they want to do a national event. They need that space for the sponsors to come in from BMX or BMX USA to come in, and they have a trailer that they would put in there, and they would operate out of that. So I talked to Matt, and he said that whatever the city council approves as the footprint for the BMX track, and we never really had an approved footprint before, just the track itself. So if we approve this drawing here as the footprint, then that would be what the lease applies to. So what I'm doing is just coming back and defining an area for the lease. We don't need to modify the lease or do anything to that, but if we don't have a problem, talk with Gary and Dustin, and we both discussed the utilities and things like that. They would like to do a little bit of excavation into the uphill side and bring some of that down and level that out a little bit. And so a little concerned about that, but we've met on site. Dustin has looked at it. Gary's looked at it, and I don't know if we need a soils engineer to come out and look at that. We know there is a drain that goes through there. We've got some 8-inch water lines up top, which they won't be doing anything with. And it won't include the power pole.
Is this a portion of the slope that had stability issues before? No? Is it gravelled now? Brad?
No.
Yeah. So
It's
this,
just native soil?
so this is a drain here. And it runs out and goes into the wash down over here below the skate park. And then our 8-inch water lines run through here. Our irrigation lines run through here. So what I've asked them to do, if they did fence that they put a gate here and just have one large fence, but keep that open so we can get in for utility access. What they would actually do with the fence is bring it from, I can't quite reach it, from this here over to there into the corner. But all we're doing now is just approving the area that BMX can use, not the excavation or any of that. Well, they'll work with staff to work out those issues.
I'm curious, how will this play into the paving of that area? Will it affect anything with that plan we already approved?
The BMX parking lot, yeah, that's not part of the engineering that we're doing, but Dustin has talked with Brooke. And we offered to do the strip of pavement down there. The city do it that was on that original design, but not included in the engineering because they had curb and gutter and everything else going down there. We thought, well, we could just save a lot of money by doing an asphalt strip down to the gate that's there now.
Okay.
So Brad, this agreement that we have in front of us, has that already been adopted?
Yes, it's approved when.
So
when
the
they
lease is
completed-
$1,200 annually.
Right. And I talked to Brooke about that a couple of weeks ago because I believe it's due.
So we're just adding this picture to it as it's kind of
Right.
an addendum to it that's outlines the actual
Right, yeah.
footprint.
The BMX lease was approved before they opened for business. We're just trying to contain it or figure out where it goes so it doesn't expand outside the lease area.
AGEC did a geotechnical report for the BMX track.
That's correct.
I've got a copy of it in the office. You may want to look at that or just talk to Wayne about that slope before you allow him to do any cutting on that slope.
Yeah, I agree.
They should be familiar with it. And it's just going to be, are they going to gravel it or anything for their use? Or are they just going to,
They're
Leave the
wanting to
soil.
pave it.
they want to, oh, they're going to
Right.
pave the area inside the fence?
Right. Part of it, not all of it, but part of it. We just agreed to do the asphalt drive, from
Down
the
to
top
it.
down to the gates.
And then they'll pave inside the fence.
Right. Unless you understood differently. I know you had met with her. Yeah.
I do have a question if Brad, when you and I went up and looked at the substation, we wanted access to the 2 power poles just above the substation there.
Right. Those aren't included in the fence area. We went by what we marked when we went out there.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
making sure that line that comes to the corner in the bottom right-hand corner
Yeah,
there.
this drawing was done before you and I met.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just want to make sure that that's not
Yeah.
included in the fence, that the fenced
Right.
area, that power pole.
Right.
Okay.
Any questions, council?
So basically, we'll approve the footprint, but any fencing and all that will take place between BMX and staff as far
That's
as
correct. That's
assuring
correct.
that
Mhm.
things are okay.
Right. That's correct.
Where would the finances come to pay for this? We're approving the increase, but will there be more finances contributed by the people that are leasing?
They'll do the improvements except for the asphalt that we talked about. They're responsible for the fence. They're responsible for moving the double gates down to the new area, any improvements. And she says she has people lined up to do the work and she can get volunteers. It's just getting the cash part.
That's
hard.
the way that's always been done. I just want to make sure that it continued.
Yeah. As far as I know, I don't have anything budgeted for it.
But the lease doesn't change. The $1,200, all that's,
No, it's
that will
all,
remain.
the lease, Matt reviewed it and he says just whatever the council agrees the footprint is, that's what the lease covers.
I think it's a good thing for the city. Brings a lot of people over, so perfect.
And it's kind of a useless spot of land as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't really have any plans for it other than access. We want to make sure we continue to have our access along the power line and the wash there.
Any other questions, council? There's no other questions. I would look for a motion to approve the BMX track footprint
Okay, I'll
that's
make.
been presented.
So I move that we approve the BMX track footprint as presented. Yeah, I'll do that and I'll have a question on my own motion.
Okay, Herb.
I know.
Do I have a second?
Want a second?
Yeah.
I'll second. Do you want to whisper your question to me and then I'll just ask the question?
I was just curious, do we need to include the motion that the line might be slightly different because of that power pole?
I can redo the alignment to take out that pole.
Okay. So I would
Absolutely.
amend my motion to, that's contingent on the line being changed. So the power pole is not included in the boundary of the BMX track.
I'll second.
Okay, so I got a motion by Jarrett and a second by Ben to approve the BMX track footprint with the modifications made by staff to keep the power pole out of the way of the fence.
Yes.
Okay, any question on that motion, council? Okay, money, it's a lease money item. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Wendell,
Aye.
Denny,
Aye.
Jarrett,
Aye.
Lena,
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
passes unanimously. Thank you, Brad. Okay, item number 6, concept plan discussion for the parcel located at the corner of Santa Clara Drive and Gates Lane, extending along Benelli Trail from Gates Lane to Quail Street. Mr. Hafen.
I need a treat.
I know you guys are probably feeling a little intimidated that there's not a big crowd here if I'm here. I appreciate the chance to be on the agenda tonight. This is probably something that would have been better suited for the working agenda on the 7th, but I've got a scheduling conflict with Little League All-Stars. If we win the previous game, I should be able to make it, but we're good. I just don't know how good we are yet. So I just wanted to present this different concept, new idea, get some input from council, as this seems to be a piece that everyone has differing opinions on what should be there, what works best. Residents, council members alike, myself as a landowner and developer. So this is a new concept, trying to eliminate some additional unnecessary cost and then present something that is not going to work. And I wanted to be able to discuss a little bit without very specific details as to some of the problems that this parcel has that have been talked about, but maybe just enlighten a little bit and try and have a discussion conversation that might work with council. Perhaps before we even dive into this layout to address some of those concerns, this is a piece that does sit close to the river. There's some riprap that's been reinforced on the north side, the side that this project, the south of the project, but there's additional riprap and earthwork that needs to take place. I've spoke with some engineers and gathered some rough estimates, and they're rough because we didn't want to spend. We're deep into this already. We're trying to minimize additional cost, but to get the road from Gates Lane and connecting over to close to either Quail Street, which would then connect over the Benelli Trail, to get the improvements, run sewer, water, curb, gutter. That's a 50-foot right of way. curb gutter sidewalk on both sides, the plant strip, the trail that will be on the south side, the earthwork, the import of fill to elevate out of any potential flood issues or concerns. We're just north of $1 million. And that creates a need on our side to be able to put together a project that we want to be profitable. We don't want to lose money, certainly. And so when we first, thought that the assisted living facility would be a wonderful piece, we still believe that. We still feel that way. That's that type of density, that type of a use made sense. We could make that pencil. I've taken some liberties to just go through as it sits now with the residential and the RA zoning, and laid out a subdivision excluding the north corner, which I think most everybody has agreed needs to be some sort of a commercial piece. Not many individuals are excited about building a new home on Santa Clara Drive or right on the corner. It's part of the historic district. I think it makes sense to indicate that this doesn't illustrate it, but coming down on if you turn off of Santa Clara Drive left on Gates Lane, the brown area, but extending that brown area down towards Benelli Drive and eliminating that as a residential or just standard residential lots. There's about 9 acres in the entirety of the parcel. So I went through and just did a space utilization exercise is what we would call it, and came up with about 17 lots. And those lots would range from 10 to 18,000 square foot, or essentially something that the residents has indicated, let's just leave it residential. It just doesn't pencil. It doesn't pencil. We can't build that, develop that, and have it make any sense on a development standpoint because of the costs associated with improving the site. So this is a concept that we believe pencils. It works. It takes the front north corner and leaves that in, and we'll define it as an acre that is part of the historic district that has that overlay, which would be a commercial use with the assisted, the attaching of dwellings. So that front corner would be commercial, main level. The back side, as the elevation drops down, would be 8 townhomes. That would fall under the mixed use guidelines and allow us to do something like that. The remaining acreage would then equate to about 8 acres. And what's designed or shown would be 30 units in townhomes and 2 residential rehabilitation centers, which are basically standard residential dwellings as well. That puts the density at roughly 4 units per acre. So we wanted to present this again. The work meeting would have been a better setting perhaps, but because of the scheduling conflict, we're anxious to try and do something with this parcel. We've been working at it for almost 2 years now, and we just want to get some input back from you as council, Public Works, park staff to see what your thoughts were. We have presented this concept to TRC. We made a couple of changes based on their recommendations, and that's where we're at. Just need some input, thoughts on if this is more in line with what you think would work. This would still require a zone change, obviously. So it's preliminary, but it's something that we wanted to put down on paper and present to you as council members.
Kyle, is there you say the 17 lots, the 17 lots includes some commercial as well, right?
The 17 lots, it eliminates, so that front top brown box, if you will, if you take an acre out of there, and not that it would be a full acre, but you take an acre out because I don't think it's it doesn't make any sense to build a home on Santa Clara Drive or on that corner right there at Gates Lane. So if you take that element out, that leaves you 8 acres roughly. And I just, sketched through and drew 17 lots in there. On the parcel that's just south of LeGrand Hafens, it's a little cul-de-sac. And then if you follow that road, Brock, if I send this to you right now, could you put it up on the screen?
I couldn't from
Okay.
here, no. I don't have an email from here.
Yeah, so it was 17 lots.
So the 17 lots plus a 1 acre commercial in the corner.
Correct. So that would be 17 lots plus a 1 acre commercial, which we would want to include 8 dwelling units, townhomes attached to that commercial aspect.
So the 10,000 square foot dwellings, how many beds?
Those are residential units that would be that would fall under the residential rehabilitation guidelines. So there'd be 4 additional beds in there. 4.
Just 4 beds in the 10,000?
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot size. That's not to indicate the 10,000 square foot home.
Oh, it says 10,000 square foot dwellings.
That's a typo. That was just to identify 2 separate lots per the Santa Clara code. Those residential rehabilitation dwellings need to be, I can't remember exactly now. I think it's 1,000 feet apart. So that was just to indicate that there will be a lot there, not that size of home. Per other cities in the surrounding area, they allow up to 8, up to 12. We haven't got into the details of what that ask would be right now. We're just presenting as if there's 4.
So 4 total or 8?
4 in each dwelling.
So 2 separate buildings with 4 beds in each.
Correct.
So I'll speak in regards to this, and so this goes back to my concern from your very first, is that now this climbs back up onto that hill moving east and utilizes the entire parcel. My concern from the get-go, I don't remember which round, but when it was
one of them,
I wasn't opposed to the actual layout, although there was a lot of detail missing as far as lighting. I think Jarrett brought up a lot of it, but it was just detail that was missed. It was voted down, but it didn't include that east parcel, which I've always felt that's where the residential needs to transition,
right,
and start moving into the valley. I agree that the corner, even moving in behind that, is in my opinion a great use. I live close to this, but I do believe at some point it needs to transition, even if it's R110, it needs to transition back to the residential zone. And now this is pushing right back to the hayfield where we're at, where that's going to be the transition zone, where I believe it still needs to be back at that western quarter front there. But so that's my concern, is now we're just.
There's plenty of space. I mean, those units are drawn to specs per se. Clearly there's a ton of space, and we could, this becomes the economy of scales, something that's buildable, that is profitable for us as developers as well. And so I think to your comment, those there's 12 right there. Those could be moved to the middle, to the open area in the middle, and the entire east side of the project could be just one of the residential rehab dwelling units. I'm just talking out loud. Again, this was more designed for a work meeting where that discussion is probably easier than, at a council meeting, but because of a schedule conflict, that's why I'm here. So, but those are the comments that we want to hear. And initially, that we don't care where the density is. We want it to look nice. We want it to be a good project. We want it to still fill and be aesthetically pleasing. So if moving those units away, from that parcel that's close there to Quill Street, it creates that more natural buffer, then we're not opposed to something like that. We can at least consider and look at it.
Well, and that's where the elevation change.
Exactly.
That climbs up on the hill, which seems to make sense, that if we are going to draw a line there to say, okay, we're, as we get closer to Santa Clara Drive, closer to Gates Lane, it makes sense to have some type of, again, I had no issue with actually the assisted living in that, just need a detail, but it just seemed like such a big area
Mhm.
that it didn't allow for us to get back to what the zoning actually is as it moves through that. And that was the question from the get-go, is where does that buffer, the maps kind of overlaid. There was some
Right.
some boundaries there that were in question, and I would agree with that, but this does push it out all the way to where, in my opinion, it needs to transition to, to whether it's R110 residential or some type of thing that fluids back into the valley there and allows for other landowners to do the same. And then,
Sure. Just to illustrate what Councilman Shakespeare is referring to, that just south of the N that's indicating the directional arrow, that line of townhomes, the 6 right there, that is on the lower elevation. This parcel is really divided in 2. So the east side that's just south of LeGrand Hafen's Field is 10 to 12 feet higher than the rest. And so as we came back with our other renderings and concepts for the assisted living facility, we squoze everything over to the west side of the project to leave that natural breakage in topography and elevation to create that change, and then allow for, it's about 2.5, 3 acres, that field that's on the far east side, to be a transitional piece, to make something, whether it was one home or a couple of homes, that would make that transition better. So I totally agree. That's good planning, good development. But with this scenario, that the economies of scale, we need that type of density to make it work. The cost of the infrastructure with the riprap, so on and so forth, it's a spendy. It's about 1,500 lineal feet of road and frontage there, and it's spendy. It's really expensive to develop that parcel.
You talked about Quell Street. Is that going to extend down to your project, or will it cut off at Grand Havens?
I don't know the answer to that question.
What were your plans?
Our plans, we don't need Quell Street to extend down.
So you don't need Quell Street to access as another access. You can use Manelli and you can use.
Correct.
Gates. That's
correct.
okay.
Correct. I know the city has talked in the past about that at some point maybe, but we're not relying on that.
So I think the one thing that pops out for me is the section that is like right above kind of the roundabout, kind of the little pocket there behind the residential. There's always kind of been a building in that area, and that's always felt like that'd be better as you leave more open space in that area and move that building away from someone's backyard, just to avoid that conflict with the neighbors. I know there was a height elevation there that was helpful for a 2-story, but that's just my gut feeling on that particular little spot.
Pulling that off the property line a little bit more, you're saying?
Yeah, or maybe you leave more open space behind it, or you leave that as open space and move that building into the other open space. I don't know exactly the best use of that, but it's always felt like there's been a building tucked right up next to those houses that we might be able to avoid some of that conflict with the residents if it's not right next to them.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, Kyle, if you could take that parcel that's north of the parking area there and even make it a flag lot off Santa Clara Drive.
Yeah,
Like make this,
that's what I'm talking about, that area.
that area right there, flag lot that would service off the stem that's
Yeah.
going down to Colton Home.
Yep.
Just to buffer, that would help buffer is that
That's the
the
wood.
doggy place?
Mhm.
And then you've got the residential home. If you just put a residential lot in there, it looks like it would probably meet the zone to treat it as a flag lot and then possibly move some of your townhome development down into the heart, down in here somewhere where you've got some additional space. So
Yeah.
you're moving that high density building away from this existing residential
Mhm.
area right there.
Sure. So these are great comments. When we developed it, we tried to look at it and say, we want it to feel open. We want it to, we want, when you're walking down Benelli, to feel as if it's the way it's been for a long time, just a big open field of dirt
And weeds.
and cars parked there and all those wonderful things. And so we tuck those buildings back, for that purpose. We want to be good stewards. We value the products that we do, the projects. But moving those, if that's council's if that would be your recommendation, we certainly would consider those as, those are easy moves for us per se.
So in this, and I'm just, basically you're proposing townhomes now. Is that
We're-
outside of your 2 pads? Is that correct? Or
The front commercial that's in the historic district, and then yes, the answer is yes.
that are for sale, for rent, for part
For-
of the, are these residential units now? Are these part of a,
Yep.
I mean, just to.
You can buy 'em.
They're residential units, so you're gonna, so, and I'm speaking, I just want everyone to,
Yeah.
I want this to get on the record, so I'm gonna speak so it's on the record, but so most people proposing townhomes and residential are gonna come back, and most developers are gonna do what everyone does. They're gonna look at the density bonus and go, I can get 12 per acre under a density bonus and by design and everything else, which
We're not doing.
you're not doing. But at the end of the day, and this is more for council and again for residents to read, there can have eight townhomes per acre, or that just, as we're looking into this again, I think that whole section that takes you all the way through there on the lower elevation, I think it's something different than standard half acre or quarter acre residential lots. I think at that point, in my opinion, that's where the line stands, and then it transitions into the valley. But
Look, this is not our first choice. Clearly, we've been at this for 2 years.
and it wouldn't be my first choice, and that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to make the record that we need to understand that in this corner, the options are limited. We're not going to go put and I'm not speaking to you, I'm looking at you, but I'm speaking to everybody. We're not going to put a social hall there. We're not going to put a banquet center there. We're not going to, all these things. I'm saying things that have been proposed.
Sure.
It comes down to a certain type of residential neighborhood, or you look at what's been proposed in the past as a assisted living. And frankly, that would be my first choice and has always been my first choice because I know this option exists. It's the same thing when we get into commercial things and talk about retail versus a gas station and other things like that. So it is a corner. And I'm speaking on this just so we all understand that it just doesn't work to go put half acre residential $500,000 lots on. This is going to be a different piece than what we see down on Fry's piece down here, just for the location and what's going to be going through there.
I apologize that I, did some of this after on the agenda and not having the other map that I have, and I'm happy to pass my iPad around, or I can probably send you a text. You can look at it. It lays out fairly nice. 17 lots. There's, you get rid of some of your roads and frontage, and you end up with 12, 15, some 17,000 square foot lots. Really nice. It lays out. Not perfect, but it lays out, and the reason why I say not perfect is because you've got, for just, can I borrow that pointer?
Sure.
So the residential aspect, basically comes off the same thing. This building comes down and kind of L shapes like this. We've actually left this open as a little park area. There's a lot right here, but this road comes in and comes like this. into a cul-de-sac. Sorry, a cul-de-sac. There's a flag lot right here and a flag lot right here, just like you spoke, Mr. Mayor. But the backs of these homes, these lots are accessed off the front. So you do have a little bit, it doesn't set up, I never loved the idea of having the backyard, onto a road. But you can build a fence and, create a landscape barrier there and still make it look nice. And that's the best view for those lots, to look toward the South Hills. You're too close to the heights view to be able to see over the top of that and get the Snow Canyon Pine Valley looks. So it doesn't set up perfectly, but it sets up okay, but it does not pencil. We can't build it. Maybe if we could sell the lots for $800,000 or $1 million, maybe. Ben said he'd buy 2 of them, but we can't make it pencil. And so the alternative is say, okay, well, to make it pencil, we need to try and find something that's got a little bit more density. And you made a good point, Councilman Shakespeare. We're not here saying, hey, there's 8 acres. We want to do townhomes. We feel as developers that the density is different in a townhome than it is in an assisted living facility. That they don't parallel each other. They don't count the same. Meaning 100 units for an assisted living facility is way different than 100 condo townhomes up here. So we're not here asking for the bonus density. We're not here asking for something that is super unreasonable with the density that's there. It's agricultural residential. We're looking at 4 units per acre. That's pretty standard, but we can't do 4 units per acre as residential subdivision. It doesn't work.
Kyle, I think I'm confused. Use your pointer. Tell me, where's the 17 lots?
The 17 lots was just a space utilization exercise. It's not something that.
Oh, it's what this is actually taking the place of.
I'm just illustrating that we've gone through the process to say, hey, leave it as residential lots. Try to make this residential lots within the current zoning that's there. So you've got 9 acres, 17 lots, 8 acres, the top corner piece, this piece here, we're taking out of the mix. We're just saying that's not going to be somebody's home. I don't want to live there. I don't think anybody else is going to want to live there.
But you're putting 8 townhomes underneath that, right?
And that commercial piece, yes, as part of the historic district and the overlay there. That's what we're asking for. The residential layout that we've done up here. Can I just bring this up to you and you can look at it? Might be the easiest thing.
Yeah, I see where you're talking. You're using that for concept.
See, Kyle, on that picture, don't stay right there. As you saw that, my point was you've got the east side of that property, the part that's elevated.
Correct.
You've got that in a roundabout right there that picks up 6 lots, whatever that number is.
Yes.
To me, I think that's the transition zone. I think that's the elevated part that you come across. And the reason I was bringing up the density bonus is, again, albeit my first choice would be your original rehab facility on that corner. I think it just makes perfect sense. My second choice would be move that townhome section into a smaller parcel, but again, maybe utilize part of that density bonus to offset the difference. I live close to this, so it's not,
Sure.
I'm speaking, but I'm not going to be the resident that says never in my backyard. The reality is I know what that parcel is and what we're limited to do there.
Right.
And frankly, I would like to see something there. I would love to see that.
Something great.
Something great there.
Sure.
And I think what you had originally was great, but unfortunately, in my opinion, you didn't have the information we needed to vote on it. And, and that's just my feeling. Others feel different on that. And certainly I respect that, but I do think that break on that, I wanted to point that out, that That's, in my opinion, what needs to be there anyway, is some type of residential lots, and then let that corner, let that lower elevation
Be what it is.
be what it is from there.
So back to your comment, Councilman Drake, that this was done just as a space utilization to say with the current zoning in place right now, without trying to rezone the area to get more density than what's currently allowed. We felt like we could come in with those 17 lots that are larger, 12, 10, 15, 18,000 square foot lots, put 17 homes down there, taking out that top corner with the commercial. And what did that look like? Could we make that work? Could we build that and develop it? And the answer is, yeah, we could, but at a great loss. It's too risky. And so I'm here to say that the way that it's currently zoned right now, as much as we would love to just build a residential facility there, it doesn't work for us. So we're here trying to gather some input, some ideas, some comments, some feedback on, okay, if that's not going to pencil, is the city going to help us do something so that we don't just leave it, which doesn't make sense for us. We want to develop it, and we've owned it for 5+ years now. We want to do something with that parcel. What can we do? We can't make it work with the current zoning. We need some help from the city. What's the limit here? Is getting, the 30 units plus the 2 residential rehab facilities, those things are of high value. Those aren't there just because we could just put 2 lots there. Those are there because there's a demand for them. They help the project pencil. And so what's that number? Is it a density issue? What is it? What do we need to do to get to a place where we can develop this parcel? So this is, again, just a conceptual, again, meant better served in the work meeting, but we're here at council. So your comments are helpful and appreciative. We just want to know what direction we can go, because the way it is now, we can't make it work.
I have one question, Mayor, for the council, and this kind of comes back to what we were just looking at up on the heights with a nightly rental aspect and a residential community. So now you've got your 2 buildings that are kind of their own thing inside a residential community. I mean, yeah, so I don't know what the council's feeling is on that. You got one on one end, one on the other, and
If I'm correct, they're defined as residential homes. Clear, straightforward. The use falls under a residential home. It's just the way that they are. And they operate much differently than a townhome. That pad, the value of that pad is way, way, way more valuable than the townhome pad. This concept helps make it work, or we go into higher density. Clearly, we've understood that higher density down in this area is not something that people are opposed to it. I get it. We understand that. We can eliminate those. We would come back with another, I'm just talking out loud. That's what this is for. We would come back with higher density then, more units. We want to figure out what we can do. The way it's zoned right now, we're tied.
I guess my question is, are we as a council to be held hostage when a developer takes a risk in purchasing property and trying to rezone if the zoning isn't there? Do we make an adjustment so that he can accomplish that? Or do we hold the zoning that's existing as what is to be done? And so that's probably been my biggest issue the whole time, is that this is a low density zone. It was built, the homes are there. I'm sure down the road that those owners, sons and daughters may split it up and make it smaller, but do we protect a zoning within the city at the expense of a developer, or do we protect the homeowner? And so I guess, Kyle, my feeling is that you come in with a plan that would accomplish you being able to return some money on your investment, but at the same time, protect the homeowners that are there.
Sure. I think your comments are on point. I would add to them that as a developer, we go to buy or purchase a property. We don't just look at its current zoning. We look at the general plan and what other options are allowed within that parcel. Mixed use residential is one of these. This is zone mixed use that has an overlay zone of mixed use residential. That does not mean that it can't be changed. That's what zone changes are for. We've presented plans that fall within the mixed use residential that have not been met. So no, I don't think that the council members have to make the decision or acquiesce because the developer made an investment. But I do think that they need to be workable with the developers, with property owners, and say, all right, you're here, you're trying to do something. It falls within these options. What are those options? Which of those do we like best? Which of those do we think the residents will like best? The combination. And then sometimes, it's not about what the residents want. Sometimes, we all think we all know what's best for us. I think I know what's best for the city. Everybody probably has their opinion, but there's rights as owners of property that we have, and we want to be mindful and respectful of the citizens. This specific, 9 acres, we've invested a lot of time with citizens. We've met with numerous citizens. Of course, the ones that you hear about are the ones we didn't meet with. We've tried to get input. We've talked about this concept, in the past. So going back to your statement, Councilman, we're here because we didn't purchase the ground with the understanding that this is what it is, or else we would not be having this conversation. We purchased the ground with, this is how it's zoned now, but these are the overlaying zones, and what we're presenting falls within those.
Well, I certainly think you've made some strides to accomplish that, to bring it into more compliance with the plan that was there. I think there's still some detail to this that would need to be further explained. I still don't understand the concept of the 2 homes, the size of them, and what's being accomplished with that. But that would be part of what you would present at a future meeting. But,
Correct. I apologize for scheduling conflicts. This is certainly a better served conversation in a work meeting and not an actual city council meeting. I appreciate, being lenient and allowing us to have an open discussion. So this is conceptual. This is something that we can present to say, are we headed the right direction? Is this, are we getting closer? Defining some more of those things after your input would be the next step. And then going back to TRC and representing to them and getting a more finalized concept. Councilman Shakespeare's comments of maybe eliminating that. Maybe we eliminate that and put in that residential aspect that, shows on that other rendering, something like that. And we're not opposed to that. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Something that works that we can develop.
Lena, question for you, because you're going to know it more than me.
Oh, no. I don't have I didn't even bring my binder tonight.
If you see my name on the agenda, you better be.
Yeah, I know.
Very
I
low
almost went home to
density.
get it, actually.
Very low density on the general plan designation allows densities up to what? Less than 4? Or is it 2?
I think it's 2.
Max of 2?
I think it's 2.
So a little under half-acre lots if you pull the streets out, right? And then you got the mixed-use residential, and I'm just thinking the existing general plan, a project that could be approved without a general plan amendment. You could do the 1 acre commercial mixed use on the corner, right?
Right.
You could expand it probably down to
This area
Really?
up here, somewhere in this is where that overlay is.
That's what I'm saying. So you have that area right there that could be commercial mixed use. So you could have some commercial use and you could have some townhome use in that. There's not a buffer in between that and the very low density. So the general plan right now has the mixed use adjacent to very low density, right? So everything to the west or east would have to be half-acre minimums. What does that look like unit-wise when you just look at it that way? How many lots would you end up with in the low-density lots? What's the density that you could get by with in the in the mixed use?
Right. That's a really good question, Mayor. So if we're taking some presumptions here, if you take this area and indicate that this is part of the mixed use residential, the overlay, the orange bubble, right? There's roughly 2.5, call it 3 acres for easy math. So if we went that route, we would say, let's put 3 acres over there, go for the bonus density, get the 12 units per acre, which is 36, and then buffer the rest out in half-acre lots. That's not where I want to live. We want to present a good project. We understand that the current zoning, the general plan and the current zoning has some variables that we have to get through. We're trying to look at this collectively as a project and say what works. I am 100% on board and in agreement that this area right here separates this parcel from the rest. This is a natural buffer, topography buffer. This should be, it needs to be more residential in nature. Even though townhomes are residential, I think, let me say it better, single family, 10,000 square foot minimum type pads, right? But even now, that's not zoned for that. This is zoned for low density or residential agricultural. So we have to acquiesce. We're trying to say, councilman, city, the general plan was done. We understand that. Whether it was a mistake or oversight, hey, we need to reevaluate this. We need to be able to say what makes more sense. So it seems to me, to go back to your comment, Mayor, that the density seems to be an issue here consistently, whether it's the assisted living facility or residential. So this number, the number of units that we're talking about, equates to about 40. I think we end up really close to 40 units if we said right in the general plan, follow the orange bubble outline, keep everything within it, and then move that direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's my question is the 40 units seems to be about your break even financially.
Right.
Can you get 40 units under the existing general plan designation?
Yes, the answer is yes.
But that's never been presented.
Correct. That's what this meeting can be helpful for. As a developer, I personally don't love the idea of putting 36 units right here. And then
Well, but you got
half-acre
you
lots.
have to put 36 there. You've got you only got 3 acres of commercial. You've got another 6 acres. That's 12 units. So now you're down to 28.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Is you're developing a number of lots out of this thing too that are across the river from the Sycamores and
Right.
up the river from Roan and large lots they can build huge homes on.
Sure.
I mean, that should be a sellable product based on everything else that's selling out there right now.
Correct.
And if you can live within the density allowed under the current general plan, you don't have to do a general plan amendment.
Correct.
Now you're just going to a zone change, and the zone change is only limited to that corner piece.
This one right here, you're saying?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the corner. The rest of it doesn't require zone change. You can go right to preliminary plat on that.
So the mixed use residential overlay that would be right in here, we wouldn't need to
you'd have to do zone change on it, but you wouldn't need general plan amendment,
Okay,
right?
correct. That's right.
So you'd still go through the zone change. That zone change would require your full PD submittal,
Right,
your elevations, your site analysis, site plan, all of that stuff.
sure,
But it complies with the general plan.
right,
So you're submitting for a portion of the total and everything you're doing is in compliance with the general plan. You haven't ever taken that approach.
no, we haven't. Some of the reasons why is that we've talked in the past about a transitional space and what is that transitional space? Maybe we need to put a park or something here in the middle, because going from, call it 25 or 30 units in this defined area right next to a half-acre lot. I know Ben loves his home. That we're trying to be good stewards and look at it and say, we need a sellable product too. We don't want two lots that are left there, but I understand your comment.
But you're feeding the argument of the neighbors. When you say just exactly what you said, that's the same thing they're saying. We don't want to live next to it. The difference is here is you comply with the general plan. That corner's going to develop. I think everybody realizes that corner's going to develop different from 2 units to the acre.
Right,
The people that buy those lots are going to know what's on the corner when they buy them. The day they buy them, they know.
sure,
You haven't impacted any of those adjacent properties that are existing homes. You haven't impacted any of those with the exception of the one who's next to the general plan mixed use. They're
right,
all getting exactly what the general plan showed. They're all getting the exact same use as what they're currently having.
hmm
So your impact is,
hopefully less.
it should be a lot less. You're still going to get the valley outrage. You're going to get that on anything.
Sure,
But who have you really impacted? You're not impacting the ones that are down on the east side.
right,
Putting in exactly what the general plan says, what it's currently zoned for. I could go build that half-acre lot subdivision right now with preliminary plat.
right.
I could roll in here and do that without even a public hearing.
And one of the other ideas is I believe that you would talk to the neighbors. They would even consider less than half-acre lots. You may be able to get an agreement with them to go third or quarter acres and
That's
make it
gonna
residential.
require general plan amendment, so you're gonna open the door.
Sure,
But yeah, you might get R110 down in there. I mean, there probably should be a little buffer between that mixed use and half-acre lots, like there is pretty much a lot of other places in town. Those half-acre lots are buffered from the higher use. It's not in this case, but you would have the option, and I'd like to see a plan where you looked at half-acre development down there over to that existing general plan boundary, and then what can you do on that boundary? And
right,
if the quality of that design is there and is demonstrated in your documents. So I'm not talking about a picture of something someplace else. I'm talking about detailed site plan and elevation drawings on that corner of the product you're going to build. That's what I think could sell the zone change, the quality of the design of that corner.
well, we've been through that, Mayor, and
No, you haven't.
well,
You haven't gone to the level of detail that everybody's looking for.
right, but that's not what's required of us.
I'm telling you what I think is going to be required of you to get your,
Yeah, I understand that, but for sake of argument, we go spend another $50,000. We design this building. We think it's beautiful, and we come up and we get shut down for a zone change. Now we're $100,000 in with this, and we have nothing to show for it. The outline, I understand that the more detailed, the more likely it is to be approved. But the outline that's within the Santa Clara Code, it speaks specifically to the concept of it not having to be so detailed so that it's not a burden, an expense burden for the developer to present something to council for approval. I agree with you that the more detailed it is, it takes questions away, and it makes most people are visionary. They want to see it. They want to see what it's going to be. So I agree with you there. It's a risk factor. You know, it still provides that concept. It's outlined. You know, we went through it a lot. How detailed does this need to be? To what level? Because it gets expensive. Yeah, I hear you. I appreciate your comment. I agree with it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think all city councils are wrestling with attainable housing and how that can fit anywhere in the city. And so, I think in the past, I've heard statements like there'll never be townhomes in downtown Santa Clara. And you even have the property we zoned for townhomes that hasn't broken ground. And we zoned that, 4 or 5 years ago, because there was so much backlash to put townhomes in the downtown. But maybe the sentiment has changed slightly, because where are kids going to live in Santa Clara?
Sure.
And so I don't know, that'd be something to poll those neighbors, would it work if it was kind of in that corner and that was a nice little setup where there's commercial up top and somewhat attainable down below? That might sell. I don't know, but I just know in my own family and my own neighbors, we're all kind of thinking, where are my kids going to live 10, 15 years from now?
Sure.
They're not going to be able to afford anything. So maybe a little bit more density in a certain section of this would be possible.
So just circling back everybody's comments in this area that's within the mixed use residential overlay, putting the density.
Your circles keep getting bigger, bro.
Well, I'm not very accurate. Here you go. Wherever it is what it is. In this area right here. So having this coming back with a plan that indicates and illustrates within the mixed use residential overlay orange bubble, putting the density more centralized into that specific area, looking at a transitional maybe of going to a quarter acre, 10,000 square foot lots in this area, and transitioning that into, half acre lots as we head towards the east. Is that kind of a little bit of what I'm hearing as far as something that would like to be seen? Okay.
Just caution, it still is going to take general plan because
right.
of R110.
Right.
I think the point is, under what you have, you could go for the density bonus now and go 12 per an acre on probably 3 acres.
Right.
It may, it's there.
Right.
And then you transition through there. So,
And that's where the quality of the design is going to come.
Correct.
You're not going to get 12 without demonstrating the quality of the design. That's a bonus.
Right. Okay. Any other comments?
Carl, we just had a quality assisted living come through with some examples of what they were going to do, their townhomes or their twin homes, and I'm happy to share those with you. We got them in the back, I think. So
renderings of each of the product types that were going in there on the site with a detailed site plan.
And a lot of them were just, boards that showed from the manufacturer showing the type of rock, the type of tile, the type of materials.
Just be cautioned, it was in a piece of the city that there's nothing.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. No, but I look, most all of us are visionary. We want to see it. It helps us alleviate concern, fears of the unknown. We understand that.
And to clarify, the low density residential is 2 to 4.
So
2 to 4.
But the very low is
Very low.
that's what it is, right?
No, it's listed as low density residential.
I thought
At least according to this map, it is. According to that, it's
the written text has it as very low density.
Just in our packet, it says that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see from here if there's 2 tones of yellow in that corner.
I can't even tell on the blow up I've got.
Because I know the low density and the very low are very close to the same tone.
Yeah, they are similar. And very low is 1 to 2.
That's what I thought.
With a cluster, they'll encourage 3.
And the cluster, maybe the cluster is your buffer in between.
Okay.
So you might be able to cluster and get 3 on that middle part
Mhm.
with the very low on the east end and the mixed use on the west.
Mhm.
And
So,
still comply with the general plan.
Mhm.
That would be my first try.
hey, see, my bubble wasn't that far off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a lot different bubble there. so.
Yeah.
And that's been I think the concern is, I think everybody's perspective is a little different on where this goes because we have about 4 different maps out there. They're not meets and bounds, they're not staked, they're just drawn like this, so.
So what is council's opinion on this? I mean, this clearly is, I mean, I look at this as a developer, as a citizen indicating this is not a definitive line right here. What is council going to look at that as? Take this piece that's identified by one tax ID, for example. 3/4 of it, 4/5 of it is located within the orange. Does that mean that down here we have to shift that?
I'm
Not
inclined that you make the whole parcel that,
me too.
but that would seem reasonable to me.
See, and it goes right to the road on the north end, right?
Right. So essentially this area, something along those lines. I mean, this maybe comes out of that parcel line or two, but okay. I mean, I think I understand what you're saying. Try not to make a plan change to the general plan, fall within those boundaries and limitations, cluster this area here, maybe get to the 3, because correct, this is very low density or this is low density. I'm confused now too. This area here, is it low density or very low density?
I can't tell by the color change. I
I
can't
think
tell.
it's very low.
Okay, thank you.
Just
me
maybe
see if I can
complicate
read
your
it.
life a little bit.
Yes,
You know,
right.
engineers.
So,
No, let
So-
me really complicate your life a little bit.
Uh-oh.
See the green?
yes,
Is that, and tell me what council thinks, is that representative of the floodplain? That's open space.
Yeah. Again, my feeling from day one has been, we've got a natural barrier there that makes it really easy to try to determine how this parcel lays out. And
you're talking about this, right, Councilman?
I
I'm talking
am,
about that green thing right there. In my mind, it's supposed to represent the floodplain, something you would want to preserve as open space. So if the floodplain line was whatever that floodplain line was, and you can lower that floodplain line to come over and be on the road, we've pretty well looked at that,
Right.
to where wouldn't require a general plan amendment to develop in the green. If that was the interpretation, it was.
You said would not.
Would not.
Correct.
If the floodplain line was following Benelli and the green was intent to preserve the floodplain, then you could fill in behind it. I mean, is that the consensus of the council? Or is that triangle supposed to be open space for some other reason? Because it's not, you can't say it's ag preservation because the area to the east of it is not.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing that really makes sense is
Well, then,
is floodplain
but
preservation.
then look to the west and that comes clear into the fields and
But there's a lot of ag preservation stuff
There are.
too.
yeah,
So I don't know.
But standard understanding is that if you've got something that's in floodplain elevation, you can elevate out, correct?
And if you go down into, who's got the screen now? Is that Brock?
Yes.
Go to Rome. What happens to the green in Rome?
It's green.
Because that was a big avulsion after the 2000 and
Oh,
it's brought in now.
oh, my front porch is in the green. Dang.
Cassius Shakespeare's in the floodplain.
So
It's
then
kind of-
so
it's
the
following
assumption
the
is it's
floodplain.
following the
Yeah,
floodplain.
it's following the floodplain as it goes down through there.
Mhm.
So then am I understand, will you go back, please, Brock? So elevating out of this, changing that Lomar, which is, I think, something the city's talked about doing for a long time anyways, with Benelli Street there, that's a natural concept. Does that indicate that this orange bubble extends down, or keeping it the same, staying within the property lines? Subjective?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, everybody's going to have to make that call.
Okay.
Well, if you look at what we did up on Belisol or Solus, the city attorney said, you know, the open space is visual looking down on it. You know, so when we moved the watch over, that's where it was intended for the open space to be.
Moved.
It gets similar to this one.
Yeah. It moved with the floodplain. And it filled in behind with the adjacent zone. So
I bet if you go back to Roan years before this has all been changed, I'll bet that green extended right up.
it
into
did.
it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The map right
Yeah.
there shows it. The zoning map, that map right there shows the Vol'jin and Roan right there. That's what made me think of it. So,
Okay, thank you. I have nothing else unless there's some questions for me. This has been very helpful. Thank you.
The verbiage, just so you know, it says very low density is between downtown and the river.
Okay,
And low density is part of it's up in the heights. And then it says also in the areas surrounding downtown.
okay,
To
thank
give
you.
you an idea.
Thank you.
and then clustering to get the 3, is there a requirement there for that? Never done it before.
This is just in the general plan, so it's not in zoning. So there's lots of leeway with it because it's just general plan. But it says cluster incentive will encourage 3 units per acre if at least 50% of parcel is dedicated as open, natural, or agriculture.
Okay,
You may not get that. You might, because you've got all the floodplain ground adjacent to it that can be dedicated. and
correct.
Preserved.
that's right. All the way to the other side of the creek to Sycamores,
That's right.
to the back property lots there.
That's
So
right.
you've got that to help you with that clustering.
Excellent.
And in my opinion, we don't need another park. Sorry, Brad. We've got parks downtown. We got open space, we got rivers,
Yeah.
we got all sorts of cool
And it
stuff
says
down
it's
there. We've got an
natural.
orchard.
It's natural open
Yeah.
space, so it'd be fine.
You want to preserve that river corridor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good luck. Corey, we need to get that map updated.
Yeah.
Christelle.
Put that on note, to update that map.
General
The
plan.
general plan. I think this area has changed, Christelle. And then there's some fine tuning along the river. That's changed. Okay. Man, we were making such good time too. I was so impressed. We'd gone through all that items in 25
We were
minutes.
cruising. I had to cancel dinner reservation.
Flying low. Okay. Reports. Mayor and council reports, Ben.
Mayor, the only thing I would like to set up in a work meeting, just a discussion on these signs, and I think I don't know when our next one with planning commission is, but it may be a few months, but it sounds like we need to,
When's the last time we met together? Like
it's been a month ago.
2 months, maybe?
Yeah, I know there was some discussion about it in July, talking,
Doing it?
well, there was some
That's next
discussion.
week or 2 weeks.
It was in 2 weeks. We had some discussion about doing it then. I think it was with Robert Smith's stuff and having them come as a combined meeting then.
I get worried in July is my only concern is how many we're going to
People
get
here.
turned out, but it's just so we can maybe get, because there are other commercial pieces that are,
We can do it, plan it for August if you feel better, but either July 6th, is it 6th,
7th.
7th?
yeah.
The planning commission, I talked to Bob, and the planning commission is going to have a discussion on the sign ordinance.
When?
This next meeting. It'll be a discussion item on size and this
When's their next meeting?
on the 8th, July 8th.
So 2 weeks from tomorrow.
because of last sign that went through, want a more uniform sign. I think the ordinance allows 12 by 10, and we thought that was too large. It doesn't address message board signs at all. All those have to go back to planning commission. So Bob's going to look at the St. George ordinance and
So they're going to
Have an open
discuss
discussion.
signs and concept on that meeting next week.
Oh, yeah. I just think it's,
We could have them come to our August meeting because they're not going to have anything adopted yet. But they
Yeah.
would have discussed these other issues and we can talk about everything.
be good. So,
August 4th.
Because we're going to want to have something in place before the end of the year, given the potential legislative changes come January with this
Can we
next
just
session.
give all the sign regulations to the legislature?
yeah.
Just let them deal with everything. Then, once they deal with it for like 3 days, then nothing, I won't finish that sentence.
That's all I have. It's been pretty quiet, Mayor. That's all I
Okay.
have.
Thanks, Ben. Lena?
We need to set a date with the Shack for our free swim date that we have been allotted.
Woohoo.
So I don't know if we want to tie it to Swiss days, but I need to get back to them. I kind of thought maybe not doing it actually the weekend of Swiss days, just because our residents are going to be involved in other things. So maybe doing it like the Friday or the Saturday prior. Kids are back in school, so my preference is probably Saturday. I don't know that they would be opposed to that, but those would be my recommendation would be maybe that.
So earlier in September?
Mhm. We could
You
go
want it
later.
Part of the week, or do you want to do it completely separate from Swiss days?
Well, I just think kids are in school, so I don't think they'll utilize it much during the day. So my thought was, if we do it on a Saturday, then it gives families an opportunity, all families, the opportunity to go. I don't know that they would prohibit us from a Saturday. They didn't say that, but I didn't want to do it the Saturday of Swiss days.
Do we want to do it in August away from Swiss days and some of the fall stuff? Because you've got Iron Man.
Yeah, that would be fine too. We can pick whatever day we'd like.
What's council's preference? For you and the grandbabies to go swimming? Huh? August?
I guess if you go in August, if you go early enough, we can do it before.
That's what I was
school's
just
back in
thinking. If-
Session, and then you can do it
Maybe
during the
right
week.
before school starts, we
Yeah.
get a day
Yeah,
and get it during the week, and then it's like a back to school party.
right. We could do
I
that.
think school starts either August 11th or 12th.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
So
Well, yeah, because it starts that right before UAMPS.
maybe what's the Thursday before school starts?
5th.
How about August 5th?
Starts August 12th.
That's the first day of school.
Uh-huh.
And that day is a
Thursday.
Thursday? What if you did it on the Tuesday?
Like the 10th.
I don't know, I'm just throwing days out.
Yeah.
The Tuesday before school starts. Are we anywhere?
No,
We're not in
it's the week before UAMPS.
the week before UAMPS?
For UAMPS, yeah.
I think that's the sort of thing you share on Facebook and it would spread pretty fast. I think we can actually get people there
Mhm.
regardless
We've
of the
still
day.
got a couple of newsletters that we can put it in.
Mhm.
That sound good to everybody? August
August
10th.
10th.
August
Okay.
10th, and it's recorded now on YouTube, and people can go and watch it and find out as well.
4 views we get per meeting. Yeah.
August 10th, Tuesday,
Okay.
August 10th.
I will call them, make sure that, I don't think there'll be any conflict, but I'll make sure that that's the case.
After looking what our splash pad cost to repair, that 20 grand a year is not too bad on that shack. I was going to respond, but I knew I was going to offend somebody out there. Sorry. I was like, I like the shack now.
That's hilarious. And then my only other question was, did you need us, I keep getting emails about UAMPS registration. Or do we need to do that ourselves?
That'd be more a question towards Gary, maybe Christelle.
I did it myself.
You
and
did do
worked
it for
great.
yourself.
And then I went back and had it my wife.
Could we bring Jack back just to register everybody? Gary, you don't need to do it. We'll just have Jack do it all. So
I can call him as if he wants to. Tell him he's still employed. He can do it.
Right.
I guess we need to have a discussion. I guess Brock has already talked to all of you about doing our own excursions and not signing up for the excursions. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So I guess we can go ahead and get register everybody. Do you want to? Oh,
Yeah, you have to do a
but the waiver is
waiver.
just for the excursions, isn't it?
But you still have to do it to register either way.
Okay.
So it sounds like
So,
it'll be easier for each
yeah.
of us to do it individually.
Everybody do it. If you don't
Okay.
have the email, well, Gary Christel will get you an email if you haven't had it.
Did everybody get the email?
Rooms are booked, though we do have
We do
9
have the
rooms. We
so
do,
it's
we,
just registering for the.
yeah, 9 rooms are booked, so.
We decide how we're getting there. And I'm
Well,
curious.
I have my recommendation, but we can do whatever. I recommend we fly this time, but some people enjoyed the drive last time.
Bonding,
Bond, we did.
team building.
I was just curious, what do we need to pay for our spouses' flights? They're coming with us. I'm assuming so, but that'd be something to iron out.
Something we can discuss.
Probably better hurry though. You're not gonna have any seats.
Just maybe for.
I'll donate my flight to somebody's spouse. I got a wedding to pay for.
That's all. I think that's all I have. Heritage Commission hasn't met in a long time. So
Did you get on is it hack? Did the housing affordability meet today?
I didn't get a notice for it.
Didn't either. It was on my calendar, but I didn't get a notice.
I didn't get a notice, so I
Okay.
didn't have anywhere to go to.
Okay, all right.
I'm not, do you know who's over that? I'll follow up with them.
Sure,
Charlene?
Is it
Charlene,
Shirlane?
Charlene Quayle.
Yeah, I believe she is the one over
Okay.
that.
I'll follow up just to make sure that we're included.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Jared?
I think the only thing I wanted to report on is for fiber to the home, that process is still moving forward. Right now, I think it's with Debbie and their finance director to kind of look at the financials, if it will pencil, and what revenues we could use as our backing for the bond. I think that's still just being ironed out. So no answers yet on that, but it's just slowly moving forward.
And you heard TDS and InfoWest want to come talk to us?
Yeah.
TDS, I confirmed with TDS today for July 28th, the last meeting in July.
July 28th.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, and I really like what Brock said way back when with our meeting with TDS, that through this whole process, we just want to have better service for our residents. So we're not gung ho for one way or the other. We just need to find the best solution. So I'm glad they're willing to come down and talk to us. And they wanted to come on a day that I'll be out of town. And so they moved it so we can have some pretty pointed questions for them when they're here. And she said they'll be ready for that. So.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
No mosquito report?
I did get an email, and there is one particular mosquito that's really prevalent right now that does carry West Nile virus. So they're really working to get those population numbers down, but no reports of West Nile yet.
Cool. Thank you. Okay.
Well, the wildlife assessment was completed on the shooting sports park. Did Keith set up a time or he just contact you?
Mark?
We do have a tortoise on our shooting sports park.
I sent him the email and I forwarded that to you about the report to ask him for guidance, and I'm waiting for him to get back with us. He said probably next week, so I haven't got a definite date or anything.
Well, and it's interesting because I think they want to discuss mitigation, and I don't know what you.
We pick it up and put it on.
That's I mean, there was one tortoise, and that was in the actual footprint, and to me, I mean, I'm wondering if they want us to give them 1,000 acres somewhere,
10 to 1.
Anyway, yeah. So we're waiting for Keith to get back to us to set that up. One of the questions I have, Corey, maybe this is for you. When we're doing the townhome development on the corner over there, at what time do they put the privacy wall up? Do they wait until they're completed? I mean, I would hate to have a developer not put the wall up that they've promised and go south on us. When do we
So you're
start
talking
putting-
about Heritage Point?
Before occupancy on the first unit, right?
Yeah, on the first phase.
Okay,
Could be part of the,
I just wonder, I haven't seen any movement on the wall at all, and I know that that was a big issue with the neighbors and stuff, so.
I
anyway.
met with Austin today out there on his townhome. And so I'll reach out to him and see when he has that on schedule and then get back with you.
Okay,
The building they're building right now is under a developer builder permit.
Owner builder development.
Plat's not recorded yet. So, but I would think you'd have to have the wall built required on that phase.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do the
Yes.
wall with,
okay,
in regards to the subdivision approval.
Because he's got landscaping he's got to put on the outside of it too.
okay. That's all I had. I mean,
When,
Nothing. I did want to ask a question about the splash pad. Was there a problem where we had to shut it down? Because I got a lot of noise from neighbors.
the splash pad?
Splash pad.
So we close the splash pad as it's not on a recirculator, so it's just culinary water that we were using. We use about 900,000 gallons of water, which would actually supply 4.5 homes with water for an entire year. We felt that in the current situation, that it was best to close the splash pad and save the water.
There's some misinformation out there because the people were sending information to me. We're thinking it was a recirculating.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on social media. Christelle responded to a lot of those comments in our post saying that no, it's not we don't have a recirculator there. It was just culinary water that went straight into the wash. And so we felt that that was what was best in the current situation to close it. We know that it was not an easy decision and knew it wasn't going to be taken well from residents as a time when it's hot and going and using, but we felt at the time and consideration of you play a splash pad or flush a toilet, wash clothes.
I understand. I just,
So,
the information that
yeah.
was out there was a recirculating.
Yeah. Oh, wish there was.
We have asked Brad, I've asked Brad to include planning in Goober Park Master Plan for an updated, new and improved splash pad. That would include the recirculation. Oh, our splash pad was the first one here in the whole area. And everything got built after us, it got the high-powered recirculation systems in, but ours doesn't.
Okay.
So that's what happens when you try and fly first.
But recirculation does create, I mean, then it gets treated like a swimming pool at that point. So then your cost for maintenance and liability and all that. So there's pros and cons to both, but obviously that's give them 3-month passes to the shack.
Anything else, Wendell?
No.
Mayors are still meeting. We had getting our COVID updates, but you're reading the paper, you're pretty much staying on top of it. There's still seeing a few cases. Most of the cases are unvaccinated people, but they did have one vaccinated go into the ICU and get put on a ventilator, but there was a lot of underlying health issues associated with it. So they're still encouraging vaccination. I think the mayors are going to take a lead on putting the conservation or the water conservation ordinance together in a one ordinance for all of the communities. So that'll probably start happening fairly quickly. There's a lot of stuff going on for the time of year right now. So make sure you go to your assignments, make sure you report back. I'll let Brock report on the stuff that happened today with the interviews and stuff that took place. So we did have a rural water supply administrative meeting today talking about water usage and about the conservation plan and a drought action plan that the water district's starting to develop. that'll probably be keyed on elevations in the reservoirs. When water in the reservoir reaches a certain level, a decline, it'll implement different conditions in the drought action plan. If it continues to drop, then the conditions will improve to the point that they tell cities, tell people you may have so many gallons a month and then we're going to cut you off. So there'll be a lot of input on that. It's not happening good. They told us today they feel like pretty confident they can provide all the culinary water we want for the next 3 years. But you won't be able to have the irrigation water. So they're hopeful that we'll get some monsoon rains coming through. They're as important as the snowpack they're starting to figure out because of the soil moisture problems that they have. If they don't get the monsoon, the soil moisture gets to the point that you don't get any runoff because all the snow goes right in the ground.
What's happened this year?
So they're not panicking, but they're nervous. So, and the MPO met and approved some corridor money. I've asked Dustin to put together the documents we need for the remaining Hamlin Parkway right-of-way corridor preservation, the funds that we get from the county. So he's working on that. We met with staff yesterday, went through a lot of the projects that we're going to ask Public Works to help out with this year, and there's a lot of them. And so we're kind of working to coordinate those as well. And we were able to get Santa Clara Drive and Pioneer Parkway on the transportation plan. We haven't got any money funded that way and don't know that we will, but it is on the plan. So we can ask if we want it. So I think that's all that I have. We do need executive session tonight just to talk about, give me the right wording,
Character competence.
character and competence of an individual or an employee
Yes.
or a councilman. Just kidding. So we do need to go into executive session. Before we do that, Brock, have you got anything by the whole group?
No, I don't have anything.
Anybody over there? Directors? Christelle? Nothing to share? Chief? Update on the fire station?
We're getting real close.
Oh, I did talk to Gary Zabriskie with the 5 counties. And if we're going to get any plan into the CIB board, we need to get in now for next June's allocation, or we won't get anything for at least another year or two.
That's the downtown fire station.
Yeah, the downtown fire station. So somebody, I don't know who, but we need to get with Gary Zabriskie and start the process. I know the city of St. George just got a $15 million movement for their new city office. And it's,
Loan or grant?
well, they're actually going to turn it back. They got the money. They're going to turn it back because they're going to go after $5 million in grant and $15 million in loan to make a total of $20 million. And he thinks they're going to get it. So
There you go. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll go ahead and excuse the staff. Thank you. Appreciate you. I need a motion to go into executive session, council,
I move that we go into an executive session.
to discuss the competence and
Character competence of